He's located in Davidson, North Carolina, while serving all of North and South Carolina. He is the Mortgage Planner, the Carolina's #1 mortgage radio. Premium lending experience along with mortgage planning. Ranked top in the nation, here is your host, Brad Roach.
Welcome to The Plan. This is Brad Roach, the Mortgage Planner. 704-412-2727 is our direct dial. Go to fortheplan.com. Welcome back if you have been tuning in. If you haven't, welcome for the first time. Good morning, Jacob Roach. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well.
I don't normally call you that, but I didn't introduce you properly, so let's at least get your name out there right. So we're in the saddle going over the Mortgage Planner University. We've done episode 1, episode 2. We're in episode 3. Tell me a little bit, just recap what we've covered in episode 1.
Episode 1, credit, debt ratio, cash to close, choosing a loan.
And we went deep.
Loan chooses you.
You got that. So that was a takeaway from there. And then episode 2.
Went into reviewing closing costs. What's a break-even point and when is it too long? And then choosing an interest rate.
Yeah, so a lot of good information on both of those shows. If you missed them, make sure you log in, go to fortheplan.com. You can check out all of the series as well. And today, I got some interesting stuff today.
Yeah.
I've got what you need to be organized, the process and what is happening. Now, that's not going to be 101. We're not going 101 on this. So what the process is and what's happening. And then we've got expectations of an average deal. I noted down it's market driven, so you'll hear us talk about that. And then we go into negotiating an offer to purchase. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say define the average deal, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, that's going to be, it's always going to be market driven. But we'll dig into, we're going to start with what you need to be organized. If you're looking at investing, buying a house, getting a mortgage, I think just to be prepared, get the best deal you can. So in not speaking 101, because that's not what we're doing, I've mentioned that several times. I want to go 101. Kind of sounds backwards, right? But there's a huge difference when you go. I want to talk about my Jeep. I went and got a Jeep, go into the dealership. They do your finance, and I find the Jeep I want. They do your financing. And you have to almost, I don't want to say fight for it, but you're limited options. I can go somewhere else. I found a better deal afterwards, have to do all this extra paperwork, went to a credit union, did some different stuff, got a better deal, 4 points less interest.
Yeah, I did the exact same for my wife.
Okay. So I mean, you got to pay attention to where you're getting the money and are there better options for you? So why is it that when we look at being organized, I want to have not just a qualification done, like when I went to get the Jeep, I figured I'd be approved. You thought you'd be approved for yours. Okay. Well, it's not about just, I think I can be approved. It's, can I get the best terms for my situation?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're talking about. So when you look at this, there's two differences. We're going to go pre-qualification, pre-approved. A little bit of difference.
Yeah. And I think pre-approval, that's what holds the weight essentially.
So pre-qualification, that's nothing more for you guys listening is us checking credit. If you don't send in the verification stuff like W-2s, pay stubs, and I know it's a pain in the beep, you know what I mean? It is. It is. I gather and all that. So what I would do is I would get a lot of that stuff. Here's what you need. I rattle it off. W-2s for 2 years or tax returns, photo ID, bank statements for 2 months, 1 month pay stubs, and we usually link you in so you can do what's called a token. So your bank statements talk to our system, and so does your employer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that can be done ahead of time. Why do I get through all of that? In case there's any questions, they're removed. That's number one. Number two, it puts me in a position of power when I go to make an offer.
Yeah.
Why? Because I've got a letter that says I'm underwritten and approved versus just qualified. There is a difference. And I would highlight it if I'm presenting my offer. I've gone through formal underwriting. That's the difference between pre-approved and pre-qualification. I know you know that.
Yeah.
But so what are the benefits of being organized, right? And let's talk where you can screw the deal up.
Yeah.
Right. So I can tell you to get like a Dropbox or a OneDrive and put your W-2s, your pay stubs, put a couple years, maybe 3 years worth of these items in there that we may need and put a passcode on it. Now you're organized then, right?
Yeah.
Where can you screw it up? I think that's an important part. It's usually funds to close.
Yeah.
If you're concerned about buying, that would be the main cup of tea.
I think some people think that it's just down payment. I think there's a lot more to it. And like that we've covered it in a previous show, but I do think
that was in episode 1, right?
I believe so.
Closing costs. Yeah, you got to listen to that because it's more than just the fees.
Exactly, yeah.
More of the escrow account.
Yeah.
And points possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it, so you got to know what you're getting into. And so organized is money. Money, money, money. That'd be my main thing. So if you want to avoid a lot of problems getting a loan, have your money sitting in a savings account for 60 days. Don't even care how it got there. Did you hear recently about a guy that was fishing and he found a safe?
I did not.
Yeah, no, this is real. I know this isn't in our notes here, but this is a real story. So the guy was fishing and he found a safe. Guess what was in it? Like a safe, $100,000.
Wow.
Right. That's it. So he's having
a lucky day.
Yeah, that's what I thought. This is a true story. You can Google it, look it up. You Google anything, but that one will pull up. And so he's keeping the money. They found that was not related to any crime.
Huh.
Now, you don't think that's weird?
Who's throwing $100,000 into the lake?
In a safe, but it has nothing to do with a crime. Why would you do that? That's off topic, but where we're going is being prepared. Let's go back to it. So funds to close. Don't have it in a safe at the bottom of the water. Have it in an account where if you have it seasoned, is what it's called, for 60 days, we don't have to ask 80 questions where you got it. So even if I gave you money, down payment or vice versa, give you money as a son, hey, here's $50,000, go buy a house. You put it in your account for 2 months. They don't even have to ask me anything.
Yeah.
It's all your statement.
Exactly. It's not even required as a gift anymore. Like, it's not seen as a gift, I guess you could say.
Avoids a lot of paperwork. That's all you're doing. So even if, some people will have what's called mattress money. Okay, keeping some cash at home. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but we're going to look at it and not care anything about it. So what do you do with that? Cash it in, put it in the account if you're going to use it for your deal to close on a house, and you'll have it seasoned in there for 60 days. We don't care where it came from. Now, if you put it in there today and you want to buy a house tomorrow, I can't count that money.
Yeah, it's a problem.
You can count it. You can count all them 100s. You can count them all day long, but we're not going to use them to qualify. And even if you don't need it for a down payment, being prepared would be along the lines of knowing that you need reserves as well. Reserves help you qualify for a better deal.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Some of our pricing, when we go to price a loan, you will enter in a couple month reserve. I mean, reserves are a payment reserve. So if your payment's $1,000, $2,000 in the bank after you buy the house is helpful.
2 months reserves, right?
Yeah, 6 is better. 12 is even better. 18, okay, great. All of that factors into when you get your interest rate. Kind of crazy, right? More people want that loan, less risk.
Exactly. Just in case anything happens where income stops. They know you can make the payment over.
You got it priced properly. So we've talked about what you need to be organized. It's really some paperwork, right? If you have that organized, filling out the application is no different than filling out any normal application. We do our thing. It takes about 10 minutes online. You can do that at fortheplan.com. That gets your pre-approval. Now, if your credit stinks, and I'm being serious, I would do it anyway because we have tools to say, here's what you need to do, the most effective to get your score up. That's a big deal. Like a lot of people say, oh, I need to do this or I need to do that. I don't even know how they score it, and I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, there's some sort of algorithm to it, I would think. But
that's what they call it.
Yeah, it's the credit rescore. They give us a button really where it shows a potential increase. I've seen anywhere from +0 to about +100.
That's a huge difference when you're applying for a loan. If you get your points up 100. So there's things I've seen where you can do $50. I've seen it take $10,000, right? So every report's different. Here's what I wouldn't do. If you plan on buying a house in the next year, I wouldn't guess if my credit's not where I want it, or if I plan to get it, can I get a better deal using the tools that we have available to us that a consumer doesn't, or the lazy guy who took your application, oh, you're approved. By the way, I could have got you a better deal if you would have done this and we were ahead of time.
Yeah.
A lot to that, brother. 704-412-2727 is direct dial, or go to fortheplan.com. Enough of this organized talk, though, right? That can get boring. We're going to move into some better topics on it, but you do have to have it. Why? Makes it easier, makes you more confident, gets you a better deal on the property. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to The Plan. This is Brad Roach, joined with Jacob Roach, the mortgage planners, 704-412-2727 or 855-4THE-PLAN, or go to fortheplan.com, man. Check these out. If you're watching on screen, we got cards, we got QR codes. You can check out Mortgage Planner University. Pretty cool. You can also, the website is fortheplan.com. That'll take you there, of course, the same one we use. We've got a great link there for you. Also, the Mortgage Planner University.com.
Yes, sir.
You'll get that as well. TheMortgagePlannerUniversity.com. This will have all the shows and tools that we're referencing, including this mamma jamma.
Yeah,
this bad boy.
Our new case study.
Man, this is pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
So we took a scenario of a guy who bought a house a year ago. And it was, and I'm not going to go through this. You got to go to For the Plan to get the rest of this. But I'll give you some stuff on here. He bought it in zip code 28115. purchased it for just over $300,000, May of 2023. And what we did was we compared, was he did a good move, bad move? And we ran the numbers. We didn't even take into account in any of this paying rent, like not owning. We just took into account, hey, should I wait for rates to come down? Are prices coming down? Are they at the peak? Are they not at their peak? Should I wait? Yeah, right?
Yeah, the cost of waiting.
All of that. And we took a real deal. And I think there's a couple wins and a couple losses through it. And I think it's worth looking at if you're renting, looking to move up.
Or even if you're on the fence.
I would agree. You need to look at what just happened over a year of this guy buying average property, $300,000. True story. So case study will be found at fortheplan.com. You'll need to register for the university. We talked about a boring topic of being organized. Tell your friends. Very cool. But point being is that if you are, it just takes the hassle out of it. What's the pain in the butt about getting a loan? All the paperwork. Make it easy, man. Have a little folder. You're up and running. It's done. So that's just easy. Number 2, funds to close. Now we move into the process and what's happening.
I think that's a good place to land. I don't think a lot of people understand what happens first and what goes into the loan process in terms of processing, underwriting, all these different milestones. What is a clear to close?
I think people did I get it?
Yeah,
right. I always compared underwriting when we said that. It's like going into surgery. You're waiting to get in and waiting to get out. When did it happen? And is it over yet?
Yeah.
Just want the approval.
And am I okay? Exactly.
Yeah. When you're buying a house, there's a lot of concern of what's going on because you're concerned. And I've done loans for a long time. I've done my own, and there's still a concern. And nothing wrong, but you don't want it to be.
Yeah.
With any of it. The house inspection, there's a lot goes to it. I'm planning a truck. I'm moving my family. I have kids. You don't have kids. I have to line up for schools. There's a lot to this.
I like when you refer to the plane. When you're flying in a plane, turbulence.
Yeah, right? You can't control it. But boy, I sure want to have you come over the loudspeaker and tell me what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. So talk about a couple of the first milestones that people go through. We're not going to bore you. They are on the website as well. When you get into the university, you'll be able to download that with the case study. Don't forget about the case study. I think that's going to be a big piece. We have a couple of those coming out through the process here. First one we got.
I would say first, what we talked about is pre-approval. Go get pre-approved first. That's where you start everything. But then you go under contract. Submit your offer. You go under contract. It gets accepted.
You're jumping, and I know you went back, and I want to point this out because the first milestone is setup. But what you did was you said it's pre-approval, and that's what we just covered, right? If you get pre-approved, you are knocking out 30 to 35% of the mortgage process issues. It's all property driven at that point.
Yep.
So you're right. My notes are wrong. And I had a little sidebar that said pre-approval. And that I think is a key piece if you want a smooth transaction. Get the paperwork done. Don't just take a quick application. I know we beat that up, but that's a big deal. But go ahead.
And then I would say, you put setup. Setup is number 1. So that's getting the appraisal ordered.
Yep. And not your home inspection. That's sending them out for us to make sure it's worth what we're lending on it, right?
Yeah.
Title work is ordered done. We do some background check. What are some names of these services like Venicity and
Argyle? It makes it a little bit
Crocodile,
easier. Exactly.
Pentagile.
Venicity is linking your bank accounts. It makes it easy so you don't have to keep pulling bank statements. All we do is click a button and it updates.
Well, that would freak some people out.
That's secure. Yeah, but I know
you know what it is, though. People think you're giving them access to the account. It's not. They call it a token.
Yeah.
And all it does is give access for the allowed data you entered. Like I want 2 months worth of statements. That's what it gives you. So it's kind of locked up, but it sure makes the process easier.
And then same with Argyle. That's connecting your payroll. So if you go with Paycom or something like that, you can link that. It makes it super easy. So you don't have to
do all your pay stuff and all that too.
Yeah.
So see, you can really express this. You know what that's called, don't you? Element Express, buddy.
Yeah,
you can make it easier on you. We work at Element Home Loans, sidebar 704-412-2727, direct dial. But that piece right there. So there's a lot that happens. Now, if you get pre-approved, see all that Argyle, Crocodile, and everything else you were saying is all done. Oh, it's already done.
Yeah.
So when we get the house, the contract, now it's all just e-sign, appraisals ordered, titles ordered, and we're moving. We're already going into processing now.
Yep.
And then processing, what do they really do? Do you know? Can you say? And we're not making light of it, but it goes from a setup person in most spaces, and some processes are a hair different, not much, but then they go to processing.
I would say getting all the docs together and getting it into underwriting so that underwriting can take a good, clean look at it.
Great analogy. Here it is. You ready? You go to the car wash, like Auto Bell.
Yeah.
And if they're not a sponsor, maybe they should listen and sponsor our For the Plan show. But if you're looking at this, right, when you go in, you pull up, you got the car dirty, and they start scrubbing the sides with the brushes. I don't like it doing it on a new car now because that could hurt. Not just at Auto Bell anyway. I'm getting off topic. But anyway, when you're getting the car done, they're getting it all brushed up, ready to go, spraying it down. At least the sprays, right?
Yeah.
And the brushes. Then you go into car wash. That's kind of what we're talking about. So the processing is really scrubbing it and making sure, like, are we turning in some stuff we don't really need to turn in because it's not really, like, some people, it's only required per the computer approval. You only provide W-2s. Well, then we don't want to send in tax returns on top of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that. Why? Well, because it asks more questions. It's not that we're leaving things out. It's just not required. It's less paperwork on you.
Yeah, less paperwork, the easier it goes.
So processing is car wash cleaning at its best before you go into the car wash. Underwriting. Why don't we stay with the car wash, brother? This is in the suds, buddy.
Yeah,
you're in the suds. Underwriting is in the suds where they're going through everything. Now, the best explanation for underwriting, they're not mean. They're vetting the loan.
Yeah,
I love to say it that way. They're vetting you to give you 300, 400, 500. Well, I'm putting down 500,000. I'm only borrowing 4. They don't care. I mean, it looks better. It's way better. I get it. But that's not what they're looking for. They're still looking at, I'm giving you 4. You know what I mean? And that's where you have to understand you're qualifying for it. You still are. Regardless of your portfolio, that's not how mortgages are underwritten.
I like the analogy of the car wash. As you're going through the car wash, and then I would say underwriting might come back with what's called conditions, or you're conditionally approved.
Yep.
I think that's vacuuming your car after with the free vacuum.
Yeah, right. It should be minor.
Cleaning up the rest.
You should not have a big mess at the end. You shouldn't. It should be very minor at that point. So we've gone setup, which only, let's put some numbers to this. 1 day setup, pre-approval, 3 to 5, depends on how quick you get your stuff in, but that can happen within a week.
Yeah.
Setup a day, processing a day or two, underwriting a day or two, then you get conditions. Well, what are we doing after underwriting's done? We're getting a few things from you as the borrower, and we're maybe waiting on the appraisal, title work, any payoffs or invoices from the deal to get to the law office. Then we've got underwriting. I put that again. I was like, man, I already said that. No, that's on purpose, right? Underwriting, you go back to underwriting for them to look at everything to make sure it was right, what they asked you for. So it's how many times should you go back to underwriting?
Hopefully one, in my opinion.
I agree. Now, I can tell you this. This is a true story. We've been doing loans a long time. Imagine turning one in and they just say, hey, wow, you're done. Clear to close. Like, sounds funny, doesn't it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's happened one time in my whole career. I'm good too, man, but I'm telling you, they always find something. And part of it can even be, so let's talk a conditioner, the vacuuming the car as you put it. That might just be earnest check didn't clear. Or you sold your house and you don't have the final closing disclosure from that.
I would say one that came up recently is like underwriter was looking through bank statements. They saw that there was a firm. Have you heard of that? The installments you pay, you can put, if it's $200, they'll do $50 for 4 months. And it's a reoccurring payment. It doesn't show up on your credit, but if they see that in underwriting.
It's like rent to own.
Yeah, exactly.
More like a credit card, though.
Exactly.
Layaway.
Yeah,
it's called layaway. But if they see back in the day, that's called layaway.
Yeah, sure is. They just changed the name of it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Layaway.
But the underwriter saw that. They were questioning that piece of it.
Because that could be another monthly payment. Now, well, I can afford it, or it's only $20. It doesn't matter. It could have been $7. They got to have your numbers right.
Yeah.
In the system. It has to be right.
No, if it's Netflix, they don't go through that. But if it is reoccurring, yeah, exactly.
So think about that. So if you did this layaway crap you're talking about, we're going to count that kind of payment in there. Especially seeing it coming out of your bank statements, right? But Netflix, Hulu's, you're good. Prime,
car insurance, phone
bill. That was episode 1 too. Then we covered a lot in episode 1. Go back and check that one out. No charge. You can listen to it all over again.
Exactly.
No big deal. So now closing, after underwriting, you should be out of closing. But typical, let's talk typical because we're going to roll into that here in the next segment anyway. Typical is probably 2 times to underwriting. That's pretty typical. Yeah. Maybe 3.
I would agree.
3 times, that would be sufficient and not a raised flag. You go in there 7, 8 times, buddy. That's like going to the doctor too often. That's too much.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be there.
Wrong.
Nobody wants to be there. Something's wrong, right? You kept going back. So then we go to closing documents. This is another department. They prepare what's called a CD. Used to be a HUD. The closing disclosure is what they refer to it as. And we issue 2 of them. We issue 1, then the law office finishes 1 off. And that's the final.
Yeah.
And we're at closing. You wire your money. Let's talk about wiring. Don't play with that. The wiring money at closing.
Always call the law office.
Yeah, if you're wiring money, it's happened. I've seen it where a guy wired, I think it was 150 grand.
Yeah.
And it went to Timbuktu. I don't know where
Capital One.
Yeah, it went to a Capital One account, not his, someone else not in the country.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, and I don't know if he got it back. He was supposed to move in that day. That's a true story. Scary. And they manipulated emails, just changing a couple emails. And they actually asked, like, hey, what's the, he says, hey, I'm looking for the wire instructions. They says, yes, do you have the wire amount? They responded, like, do you have the wire amount? He says, yes, it's 80 or 104, whatever thousand it was. Yeah. And they said, yes, that's correct. Well, yeah, instead of, hey, it's crazy, man. And when you're playing with that kind of money, that's real, very real.
Very.
So don't play with a wire. And I'm not talking about the telephone wires. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to The Plan. You going to do it?
Nope.
No? Welcome back to The Plan. This is the mortgage planner, Jacob Roach and Brad Roach. Throw me off. What do you mean, no? I've been doing this. You ready to roll? Welcome back to The Plan, fortheplan.com. We're in Mortgage Planner University, themortgageplanneruniversity.com. You need that MPU in your life. We got abbreviations for it. We got cards. We got QR. Get educated, man. Save a bunch of money. We're playing with thousands here. That's why we're doing this. It's a lot of money. It's so, you hear that, hey, pay $100 into an account when you're 12, and by the time you're 100, you're going to have millions, right?
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating on numbers, but the compound of the dollar, it's real similar to the mortgage and playing your money right. Some of the decisions we're talking about on these shows is thousands. And it can be an eighth in the rate. It can be a negotiation. It could be a timing thing that you do, how you close it. There's a lot that goes to it.
Yeah.
So we're rolling into expectations of an average deal. And off air, you said, what does that mean? And it means average deal. Like, you've seen a bunch of them close. What's an average deal? How long do they been taking for us? What's average to you right now?
30 days.
Yeah. Like you would say, could you buy a house in 30 days? If somebody asked you that, you'd say,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. What if I said 3 weeks?
We'll see. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll push it through. That's what I would say.
And that was a little hesitant confidence. Okay, What if I said 2 weeks?
That's pushing it, I think.
Why? What would be pushing it on our end? Or I think there's stress that comes with it. Can you get it done?
Yeah.
Very possible.
I think we can get it done.
Legally, what's the correct answer that you can push a closing from the time you start? Disclosures go out. You buy a house. Legally, do you know this? Is on the test. You passed this thing.
I think it is 7 days.
You're right.
Yeah.
I've never done one.
Okay.
I said, what the heck you got closed so fast? Man, you ain't even got no truck yet, man.
Yeah, right?
Right.
You still got to rent the U-Haul.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, what are you doing? It like 7 days, man. Like, you weren't planning any of this? Like, none of it. So it's just kind of, you don't need it that fast. So ideal. I'm gonna lean into negotiating an offer because that's our next topic. So we're gonna combine expectations of an average deal into negotiating an offer partially, because I think if you are negotiating a deal and you know that the seller, like maybe your agent, can communicate a little bit with the seller listing agent and find out time frame. Well, maybe a quick close is ideal for that seller. They're more apt to take your deal. So negotiating is knowing some information. Sometimes it's like a client we have building a house. He took a specific offer at a lesser price, but had the flexibility of letting him rent it back for a couple months. That was a good deal.
Yeah, that worked out perfect.
Yeah, but he didn't get as much. Yeah, but he got what he wanted. See, it's not always price. Negotiations, we're not to that yet. But so we talk an average deal. If you're pre-approved, you're stronger. You can close it quicker. 14 days is not unrealistic. Here's what happens if you've got all your ducks in a row. So you're Joe Buyer. I did that pre-approval mortgage planner. We got that done. Everything's lined up. I argyled, I crocodiled. I did everything your son said. We're rolling, right? Well, now I found the house. What are we waiting on mainly right there? That's the appraisal. So we want to get I waived my inspection. You can waive an inspection, home inspection, where they go through a lot of the different details. Our appraiser, again, episode 1, that's going through not fine-tooth comb. We're going over the value of the house.
Yeah.
So that part.
Yeah, and that's more for us. Which
Very
I think
much
we covered a little bit.
We covered it, and it is for us because I think that that's the piece that has to be done. Now, you can get an appraisal waiver. Remember, we were talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
At dinner. We talk about this stuff at dinner. Wasn't it at dinner or something?
It's a Roach family dinner.
Yeah, right. So I think that piece, knowing the time frame of that, when do you get a waiver? Like, you waive the appraisal?
Yeah, and it really It's automated, meaning they tell us.
The computer says
Yeah,
it.
computer says it.
So when does the computer says it? When you got a lot of reserves, payment reserves,
20% down
20% down. Never seen one that doesn't come back with 20% down. Would you want to waive it even if I let you?
I would.
You would?
Because I know that it's for us. I
mean, would you want to waive it? You're the buyer. You would.
I would.
Who cares? I hope it's worth it.
Yeah.
Why? You're not worried about it? Like, well, what if it isn't worth it?
Well, that's a good question. I would hope I have a good realtor, right?
When you bought you were buying a car the other day.
Yeah.
When you were looking at a car the other day. Did not buy it. You walked away. Very proud of you on that one. You walked away from the trade-in on the car deal. Well, when you were buying your car, did you know that was a good price?
Yeah.
How'd you know?
From the others the comparables. Honestly.
Yeah, you looked around at some others' properties.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, it's interesting because in the market, do you need an appraisal to tell you that the value's there? Like that's what their job is. I don't know. I feel more comfortable doing it. Like you're loosey goosey, first time home buyer. Who cares that it's worth it? I looked at the comps. I'll go buy a car that way. Yeah, but you're hiring it's not $300,000, man.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, you're right.
So for $600 for $300,000 is roughly the cost of getting it.
So I had a property, and the house next door, it's literally flipped. One sold for $380 in 2022. House next door just flipped, same square footage, same look, everything. Sold for under $350. Would you want an appraisal there? I didn't. I wouldn't want an appraisal
because it came in better. You get a better deal on it. No, I'll let that rock.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, depending on the comparables around. If my realtor was to say like, this is a great priced house, or here's what you should offer, and they accept it. That's how I would feel about it.
Okay, so I'll go along with, we have written down under these topics, expectations of an average deal and negotiating an offer to purchase. It's market driven. I would consider that. If you notice it's obviously under market value and don't you wonder like what's wrong with that then? Like why'd they price it $30,000 under? Yeah,
that's a good question. I think it was because it had days on market, I think.
That's it.
70 or so.
That's it.
No, market driven. I think that house 22 was during, just out of COVID.
I'm reeling you in, buddy. Get an appraisal.
Yeah, right. You're right.
I'm reeling you in. I'm going to get to appraisal. Like, hey, you're $30,000 better. Wonder why? Was the other one BS, or maybe they overpaid and you're paying fair market? You're not the professional. That's why I would get one. It's
going back to when you said market driven. I mean, like during COVID, people were paying $100,000 over.
Freaky time.
Yeah.
$50,000. I remember taking one $50,000 non-refundable deposit on the deal, and then they came to us with the contract already done.
Yeah.
$50,000 non-refundable.
Were they pre-approved?
No.
See, always get pre-approved.
Listen to me. I'm gonna send them. I'm gonna text them next time you do it. Here's a link to the university, man. Get it done. But yeah, that it is market driven. But that was a freaky time. That's where negotiating. You don't have an option there, right?
Yeah.
You got to come in with the best terms. People were writing letters at that time. Hey, my dog would look really good in your backyard. I can see us having breakfast in the kitchen nook. For real.
Yeah.
Writing letters.
No, I do remember that.
It's kind of weird. Like if I got, and I think it worked with older people.
It did. I did. Because I mean, during that time, there was so much appreciation. I think that they were.
Plus like a 20-year-old, imagine that letter. Hey, I can imagine me and my buddy smoking the bong in the living room or something like that. Right? No, I'm kidding. A letter like that wouldn't go over right. You got to have a good letter. Hey, let me define it. A heartfelt letter.
Yeah, heartfelt letter.
Right. So market driven. So working the numbers. So let's say your house was up for sale and you worked the price, 300-some thousand. We'll just call it 300 for simple listening to this. Not a ton of offers were out on it, so it wasn't a competing offer situation. You made an offer, they accepted it, and we rolled on it. How do you know what to offer? Like the house was sitting there, like you just said number of days, I get that, but how long was your house for sale as an example?
I think it was 68 days to be exact, actually.
Okay, so in this market, would I want to know what the average day on markets is? Yeah, days on market. I would want to know that from my real estate professional, you bet.
Yeah, per zip code.
Am I way up? Am I way under? That would help on my offer price.
Yeah.
Do you when I see I used to do this, like I would go buy something and I said, I want to pay like they have it $2,000, come off the price $2,000 if I was buying something for 20,000. But why? Like, why? why do you want to take $2,000 off? I'm being serious. Well, people make numbers up. Yeah. So what I would tell you when you're negotiating an offer, have a reason as to why, which means comparables.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are good at looking at the real estate, look at the other properties like you did the cars.
Yeah.
See that might be better price. Well, then don't work them too hard if you know you already stuck them for that. You know what I mean? Meaning that you already got the deal. You may be able to squeeze a little bit, but if you are going to compare it to a house and you can say, wow, this doesn't have the screened-in porch, or this doesn't have the staircase that's as nice of blah, 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 right? Well, maybe in your mind, that's or maybe it's not freshly painted, or, hey, they don't have a fence, but this one doesn't. And they're similar houses. In your mind, you'd take a value off of that. And I don't think you round it off. You don't say, I'm going to take $2,000 for this, $2,000 for this. In your paper, you could, but here, that would be how I'd come up with an offer, what might be lacking from other houses that are comparable, similar to an appraisal. That's where I think that you come up with a number. Then don't offer it as a round number. I wouldn't do that. I learned that from a guy a long time ago. I told you that for years. Yep. He said when he make an offer price, he would always do it. If it's 200,000, he says, or it's 200,000 price, he'd say offer 197, 462, something like that. Why? Because I calculated it, and that's part of negotiating an offer. We're going to take a quick break. Make sure you log on to fortheplan.com and check out our case studies. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Got one more segment. Welcome back to The Plan. This is Brad Roach, the Mortgage Planner, 704-412-2727. Well, you thought I was going to give it to you again?
I thought so.
I'm not doing that
I was ready
again.
this time.
Welcome. Yeah, you were ready that time. I saw you ready. You had the sitting. You were sitting in a ready position for it. Next time, baby. So welcome back to The Plan. You're listening to Episode 3, Mortgage Planner University. We are covering what you need to be organized. That was pretty simple, I think. The process. Milestones is really what those are considered that we go through, in the time frame, expectations of an average deal. We talked about roughly 3 weeks. You got a little wiggly, but you could do it. 2 weeks, you were like, whoa, that'd be crazy. 1, I said I've done once out of thousands and thousands of loans. So 4 weeks is a happy medium. And I also, then we moved into negotiating, right? Negotiating a purchase. Let's spend a few more minutes on this because I think it's hard to talk about this because of it being market driven.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you want to know when I'm going to make an offer or any of this? Data. Yeah. I want to know data. Well, what data? I want to know days on the market, how long this house has been listed. I want to know what the average is. I want to know what the average is right in this neighborhood. I want to know how many other houses are in this neighborhood. I know I'm rattling off a few things that may seem basic, but I want to know the data around all of what they pay for it. Can I find that out?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can. Yeah. And what do they owe on it? Can I find that out?
And when they buy it.
Yeah. Can you find out what they owe on it? You probably,
can.
You can.
They do have websites for that.
Yeah. Now. So you can find out what they owe, what they paid for it. I think that's all valuable.
I agree.
On making an offer. I also think calculating your offer price is important.
Yeah. Price per square foot.
I would look at that.
Okay.
We did that with the gal last night who was looking to build a house. You know, she's looking at you almost had to go backwards because she was looking at building a house. So when we talked about what you can build, it was like, well, you can qualify for $800,000. You remember she qualified for like $700,000 loan. She said, yeah, but the payment was $3,000. So I don't like $3,000. Well, you qualify. She said, I don't care. I said, that's not. You still got to pay it back. So she didn't want to pay that much. She said, I only want to be at about $2,000 a month. Well, at $2,000 a month, we had to go backwards. That qualified her for about $585. Then we divided it towards the house she was going to look at, right, which was about 1,800 square foot. And we found that she can spend about $300 per square foot to build her dream home, including her land, if she spent $200 in land.
Wow. Yeah,
so we reverse engineered it. But see, that's getting a plan together. That's the differences I think you make when getting pre-approved and talking about that. She hadn't even found the dirt yet. Yeah. Doesn't even know the house she's building, just knows roughly the size, but getting ahead of that, now she can look. Now we notice that the average new construction cost right now is ranging between $200 and $300. She qualifies the top for the size house she wants to build. Pretty cool.
Yeah, very.
But market, and it's different. So what, as talking to her, I'm looking for making an offer. I'm looking for protection. So due diligence, I want to watch dates on protection. I want to make sure I can deliver when I'm supposed to close.
I think going back to when I just said, or you had said, I think it was the $50,000 in due diligence. Why on earth would somebody do that?
They're going to buy it either way.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you know what? What if something happened? They're going to buy it either way. They didn't have cash. That's pretty stepping up, man.
Yeah, it is.
You don't have $1 million in cash. You're borrowing money from the bank, and you put $50,000 non-refundable because you're that confident you can get it done and wasn't pre-approved. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't care how rich you are. I think, unless you're willing to write the check.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of money to walk away.
I think that did Pretty much. I haven't seen in at least a while. I haven't seen somewhere up there in that high of
It's not happening. It's more normal now.
Yeah.
More normal. You're buying a $500,000 house, 10 grand.
I think, but that was during COVID. So market driven, going back to that, is I don't think that the seller really questioned whether they're going to get that house or not. I think it was pretty sure that if they don't, the seller's going to get 50 grand either way.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy though. But as you go market driven, you look at people making offers like that, and then you look at today's market or any other market. I wouldn't have wanted to buy a house then.
I agree.
Yeah, I would have rather refinanced and took a 3.5%, 3% interest rate, which a lot, the stat out there is like 50% of America's at 3%. That's where the inventory issues become people wanting to move.
Yeah.
We got a next episode that'll be coming up. We're going to talk about using some of your equity, HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, and how to leverage some of it without giving up the 3% rate. And I know you can just go get a HELOC, but it's interesting how many different HELOCs there are and how they charge and how that runs, and that you can actually refinance second mortgage money. There's some more nuggets that we want to cover after you get into a property, managing it and taking care of that money better.
Yeah.
So now what? You're out of notes?
No, I was gonna go right into seller paid closing costs.
Why would we do that? I think that's important.
I was talking to a client earlier today, and I said that's how in today's market how you get a good deal.
I think I do that every time.
I would too.
Well, explain the difference. Seller paid closing costs, kind of, it says it all in the title, but when you're negotiating the offer price, does that make your offer look weaker? Like, hey, I'd like to buy your house. Let's say it's listed for $300,000. I'd like to buy your house for $300,000, but I need $10,000 in seller paid closing cost. That really means the seller's getting $290, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to look at subtracting that number from your offer, and you have to be conscious of that, because I've had people seller paid closing costs and say, I'm gonna offer $290, and then I want to pay my closing costs. Well, that's 20 grand off for the list price, not just 10. Are you realizing you're doing that?
Yeah.
What they're netting?
Yeah.
You got closing costs on your deal.
Yeah. And opposed to negotiating down the price, I had to pay for all my closing costs.
And why would we? See, I'd advise that all day long.
I agree.
And the reason I say it is because your appreciation is going to catch it, and it's not hard cash out of your pocket. So you're financing it. I
would rather have $50 extra a month opposed to, call it, what, $7,000 out of my pocket.
Yeah, I would agree. And like I said, you understand me with the appreciation, you'll catch it. Like you're basically wrapping on the closing costs, and your appreciation catches it in growth, meaning it outweighs it, outruns it, and you never wrote a check. You owe it on the property, but at least it wasn't hard cash out of your pocket.
There is a lot that you can do with the seller paid closing costs that I think that closing cost is very broad. I think that there's really all kinds of programs. 2-1 buy down, if people heard of that out
That's
there.
a tremendous, great product that's out there. I think that even the 1.0 they have now, where we're running a special for the summer where you can get 1 point lower. Yeah. For the first year, then it goes to the normal rate. So if rates are at 7, you get 6 for the first year. That'd be a 1.0 buy down. 2-1 buy down, you go down 2%
for the first year.
So it'd be 5 the first year, then 6, then 7 for the next 28 years.
Yep, exactly. So that being one, seller can pay for mortgage insurance. They can buy it outright. So if you don't want mortgage insurance and you don't want to put 20% down, they can pay for it outright.
I think that's see, when you get creative, so when you're asking for closing costs, I guess that would be the point, though. Don't wing that either. What do you want to apply them to? How can it help you get into maybe more of a home? And why do I say more of a home? Because if you have $300,000 invested at 6%, wouldn't it be better to have $400,000 at 6%? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if it only costs you 10% to get in, $30,000 to have $300,000 or $400,000 invested at a rate of return of 6%, that's where you're making money.
Yeah.
So first time you moved here, you rented a place in Charlotte.
Yeah.
A year or two go by. You ain't got nothing to show for it. You had a nice view.
Yeah,
but you don't have nothing to show for it. But I love the place, but you ain't got nothing to show for it. But you got a nice view, but you got nothing to show for it. You with me?
Yeah.
You buy a house, and now 1 year later, you're up $30,000.
Yeah,
easy.
At least, yeah.
And not counting that deal, whatever that swinging deal in your neighborhood was for $350 and all that.
Yeah.
That can affect you, right?
Yeah, you're right.
House sells lower.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you didn't think of that?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not that great a deal for you as a homeowner in there. A lot of people, if you're looking to accumulate property, I think you have to buy it. If you haven't bought one yet, you got to move out of the rent side, go buy something, negotiate that deal, get the best deal you can in it. And we go deeper when we do a consultation with you about negotiating, talking about the mortgage, talking about seller concessions, where that'll all play out based on what we're trying to get you to.
Yeah.
Which is the cheapest payment at the lowest possible rate.
Yeah.
For what you qualify for.
And like I think that we left off paying down points, meaning like if you get $10,000, it might seem like a lot on a $300,000 house to go and get that just to pay for closing costs, but you can buy down your rate with that as well.
Permanently.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what's the benefit? You mentioned the 2-1. That's temporary. They call this. They're both playing with points, buying them down. One is temporary buy down. One is permanent buy down. So you're buying it permanently down from 7 to 6.5. That'd be permanent, right? It's going to stay there for all 30 years. Temporary, you're going to be lower for 1 year, maybe the second year, whatever it's called, a 2 or 1 year, whatever it is. There's even a 3 year, right? So you can go down 3% lower. And each year it goes up 1% and then finishes off at 7. If I'm explaining that right,
yep,
fair enough
right.
to say it that way. But that money, is subsidizing the payment. It's fixed in there that the seller's paying. So if you were to refinance anytime during that first 2 years, they refund that money and put it back on the balance of the house.
Yeah, I remember helping one client. He called into our office line and he said, I've applied with 6 different lenders and you all have the same rate, and that is pretty standard, I would say. We're going to be all around 7
similar
ish. But I said, have anybody told you about a 2-1 buy down yet? He said, no, not quite. I said, well, you have to negotiate it with the seller. Your first interest rate or your first year interest rate will be at 5. Next year will be at 6. And then the remaining year 3 through 30 will be at 7. And he said, okay, I can make 5% work. And then 6% for the next year. And he said, I can make it work.
What a much better deal.
But his intentions is to refinance, hopefully, in the next 12 months or so.
And all that money goes back on the balance on the loan that he negotiated in.
Exactly.
Like it goes to the principal pay down.
No lost cost there.
See, that program wasn't even out. Remember when I said rates were at 3.5 and during COVID times? So they didn't have a buy down program.
Yeah.
Because they put you at 0, and then you're at 1, and then you're at 2. It didn't work. So they released programs, make it easier to buy. If you got somebody who's not explaining them like you did for that guy, you can miss out on some real benefits in the financing.
He
side.
did end up purchasing.
Yeah, and got the deal, right? And we'll see if he refinances. Check out the case study at fortheplan.com. You'll have to register for Mortgage Planner University. There's a link on there. Also have an investment company or investment networking seminar, more like a networking, not really a seminar. We come and hang out. We're over at the lake in Davidson. Feel free to visit us. We do that every other month with a lot of people interested in the market and buying properties. So we've covered episode 3, Mortgage Planner University. We've got what you need to be organized, the process and what is happening, expectations of an average deal, and negotiating an offer. We've got more to come. So tune in and check out the next episode and check out fortheplan.com for any of our other stuff that's coming up. See you soon.
See you soon.